and then maybe we'll still have a late arrival or two, but probably one at the most, I suspect, since it sounds like 3 or 4 definitely won't be here. So, well, we are doing defense today. I definitely wanted to make sure that we have video, and I would recommend taking good notes for those of you who are here, because I don't have a handout on today's content. I do have multiple handouts on defensive signaling, which some of you may already have, and I can get you, but it's not. It's more of a general how signaling is done, and more of a general approach to it, rather than specifics of upside down carding, which is a big part of what we're doing today. So really 3 parts to what we're doing today. Mostly we want to talk about upside down, and we want to address a little bit on count signals, which could be upside down or standard, depending on what you choose to play, and suit preference, which is not impacted by upside down or standard carding. And so I think everybody is aware that that if we are doing upside down carding, we are carding opposite of what we normally do, and probably what everybody learned, because at least to my knowledge, I don't typically see anyone teaching upside down carding, even though it is pretty popular choice when people first start learning defensive basics of bridge. And so in our regular carding, with the let's say our if we were holding something like that, say Queen 8-2 is our holding, and I have given you spots that are not close together, so that the signals are easy to read, but a lot of times these signals aren't easy to read. Okay, partner leads this suit. Right. Well, do you want a continuation? If you are going to give positive attitude and say you like it, like let's say partner leads the king, then you could lead the 8, or then you could follow with the 8, right? And in standard carding, this says I like it. Partner sees the 8 as a big spot card, and is inclined to continue leading that suit. And if you're playing upside down, then we're going to switch that, and you're going to play the deuce, and the deuce is going to be your encouraging card. If we are giving count, and of course, this is where we get into some of the situational matters where you need, are you signaling count or are you signaling attitude? But if you're giving count instead, remember that if you are showing an even number of cards in the suit, you usually begin what we refer to as an echo. And sometimes you need to see the full echo to get the exact count, but a lot of times you can figure it out right away. If on partner's lead of this suit you were giving count, in standard count you would play the deuce. All right. Now this is clearly the beginning of a low high, right? Because there's nothing lower than the 2. So partner is going to figure out that you have an odd number. Remember that this is even and odd is what we're figuring out. Because usually if you know even number or odd number, from there, based on what's in your hand and what's in the dummy, you can usually figure out how many cards partner started with in the suit. So you see the deuce, and you're like, okay, well, it's either a singleton deuce, it's from a 3-card holding, or it's from a 5-card holding, right? But then when we switch and we start playing upside down, that same signal to show an even number has got to be a low high. Or in this case, with this 3-card holding, if you're giving a count signal, you would have to start with the 8, which again, partner could probably read pretty easily. Oh, the 8. That looks like a pretty high spot. That looks like the beginning of a high-low, which in upside down is now an odd number rather than an even number. So we're just flipping everything when we go to upside down. I actually do think one of the more difficult things, and I've gotten to where I can do it, but I will still screw it up sometimes. And I'd like to think I don't screw up too many things when I'm playing bridge. But I play, at this stage, I play with several partners who play standard carding, and I play with several who play upside down. So I have to go back and forth on a regular basis. And I actually think that's pretty difficult. So it is, this is one of those things where it's nice if you make the switch, that you can do it pretty much all the time. So, in introducing this idea of making the transition upside down, of course, we want to ask, why? Well, why do we want to do this? And some people will even say, hey, people tell me that upside down is superior, but I've never really gotten a full explanation as to why it's superior. And look, you have to face the fact that every once in a while, regardless of what system you're playing, you are going to have a carding issue. You are not going to be able to signal exactly as you like, right? And the classic kind of situation for that is, let's say our holding rather than queen 8-2 is queen 3-2. All right. Well, now we're really splitting hairs, right? And if your first signal has to be the 3, because that is the highest card you can afford, remember that is always part of your signaling, it's the highest card you can afford, and maybe you can't afford to throw away your queen, right? Because that might take a trick. And so if you're playing standard carding and you play the 3, how is partner supposed to read that? The partner can't see the 2 because that's in your hand as well, right? So partner's going to see the 3, look at other spots in their hand and the dummy and say, oh, discouraging, right? If you're playing standard. And you're like, but no, that's the only way I can encourage, right? On the other hand, if you happen to be playing upside down, when you have this holding, there's nothing ambiguous about the 2. Because unless you're playing in a very strange game of bridge where aces are low and not high, you can't get any lower than the 2, right? So when you have that holding, you say, oh, I wish I were playing upside down, right? Because I can give an unmistakable signal. And so you are always potentially going to have a carding problem, and you just have to live with that. Sometimes, and this is, when you're following suit, you can't always avoid this problem. Now, when you're signaling via discard, like the first time that you can't follow suit, a lot of times there you have options, right? Because if you can't follow suit, you could discard from any other suit. And you could choose to pitch an encouraging card from a suit that you want led that you can afford, or if you can't afford, because of your holding in that suit, if you can't afford to pitch from that suit, then you could pitch from another suit, and you could choose whether you want to make a discouraging or encouraging signal, right? So a lot of times you have some options. So why upside down? And I would, and so, let's look at, how would you signal? And we're looking at a suit around the table split this way, 4-4-3-2. And let's say that your partner over here in the West were to be on lead and lead the jack of this suit. Now, we're not saying that's a good lead. Depends on the auction, depends whether or not you bid the suit. Usually jack from Jack Doubleton is a terrible lead, but who knows? Maybe you open this suit and partner is leading it. But for the sake of argument, partner leads the jack from Jack 4. Okay, so here's your opening lead, and we see 4 of that suit to the 10 in dummy. All right, so dummy plays small, and I don't think you want to overtake the jack because that could cost a trick, right? Can we see how that would happen? I mean, yeah, you could clear up the picture by overtaking the queen, but now you have already promoted the 10. So that's a problem. So what you want partner to do is continue. And let's say you're playing standard carding.
No.
Oh, what would your signal be to encourage? Well, it would be the 9, right? The problem is that costs a trick as well. We are in danger of setting up the 10. Now, again, we're looking at the suit in isolation. We don't know, if Declare has the entries to, set up that 10 and get to the dummy and all that. But you have to consider, could this cost a trick, right? So playing standard carding, if you have no choice but to play the 2 under partner's jack, well, maybe partner will continue the suit, maybe not. But if they're looking at the signals and and it goes jack, small, deuce from you, and Declare wins the ace, well, now they might put the king in Declare's hand as well, rather than in your hand, right? And who knows about the queen? They figure Declare doesn't have the queen because Declare would win the queen. So this is a problem, right? On the other hand, if you happen to be playing upside down, you have the luxury of playing the deuce under the jack, not risking setting up that 10 in dummy, because you get to keep your king, queen, 9 over the 10. And partner says, oh, you like it, I'll continue, which is exactly what you want, right? Because you actually know that if partner continues the 4, that unless the 10 is called from dummy, you're going to put in the 9 next, right? Because you've seen all the other cards that matter. You know that Declare has the ace, you see the 10 in dummy, and partner has started with the jack. So this is where you see the advantage. It's pretty rare that a signal with a low card in a suit is going to cost you a trick. But a signal with even, any bigger spot card, a 9 and 8, even a 7, that card may sometimes be taking a trick on the hand, and you can't afford to signal with it. And I think I may have, at some point in the past, mentioned the story of a sectional that I played in years ago, and we had defended a 4-heart contract, and it made. And it just felt to me like we should have beaten it, and I couldn't place what the right defense was. Then I made the mistake of asking my partner, who, can remember every spot card that has been played since 1989, with his seeming photographic memory, and I said, is there anything we could have done to beat this hand? He said, yes, you could not signal with the setting trick. I said, all right, well, I deserve that response because I asked. So you do have to be careful. And so when people get to this matter of, well, should we play standard or should we play upside down? There are a lot of people, and I mean, top experts who don't play upside down, I think because they didn't get used to it and they're just not interested in getting used to it. But they will still tell you, yes, in theory, it is superior because you never have to risk, getting rid of a card that might take a trick, right? And again, assuming that you have the luxury to signal the way that you want to signal. So that's really what it comes down to. It is. You probably won't find yourself in that predicament. Now you might find yourself in other predicaments, just like here, where we said that holding of Queen 3 deuce was a problem for you to encourage playing standard. If the holding is Queen 9-8, right, now you are faced with the same problem when you're playing upside down, right? Where if you want to encourage when partner leads that suit, you're playing the 8, and partner's going to read that as, as discouraging, playing upside down, but that's the most encouraging signal that is available to you because you're choosing between the 8 and 9, right? We actually had a situation come up here last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. Was it last week, 2 weeks ago? I don't know, it all runs together. Denise led a suit that I wanted continued. My holding was exactly queen 5, 4, 3, 2. Our carding is standard. So I encouraged with the 5. And at the end, and when partner didn't continue, at the end of the hand, she said, oh, well, you played the 5. You didn't like it. And I said, you gotta look at the spots. Because dummy had, I think, the 8-7-6 or 9-7-6, something like that. You know, so, and that's, you know, the 5's kind of in the middle, right? 5s and 6s are the hardest to read. If you want to signal ambiguously, which sometimes you do, actually. But yeah, if you want to make life as difficult as possible for a partner, play a 5 or a 6 that they can't read very easily. Right? 4, 3, 2 are pretty easy. 9, 8, 7 are pretty easy. 5 and 6 are right in the middle. And those become harder to read, whether they are encouraging or discouraging. And then you've got to, you know, look at the spots in dummy and, you know, see what all you can account for and say, well, if partner you know, really liked it or really didn't like it, there probably is a lower card available, right? So that is essentially the, you know, that's the story behind, you know, why would we want to do this? That's why. I like it. I recommend it. I don't, you know, if it's something you're not ready to make the switch, you know, it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world. You know, it's not like saying, well, I'm not going to play Stamen or transfers. Not in that category.
Kurt, we have questions. A couple of us do attitude, upside down, and count standard.
Okay.
Then confusion.
I was actually going to get to that, but let's address it now since you brought it up. Okay. I run into a lot of people that want to do that. I don't know where that comes from, but it does not work. Or you really need to either play standard across the board or upside down across the board. And now, of course, this is all kind of woven into that discussion of, well, in which situations are we playing attitude and in which situations are we playing count? Something that will also simplify, I think, make your lives easier as defenders is for almost all of your signals to be attitude signals and only using count and suit preference in certain situations. And I think if you're in doubt, you should assume it to be attitude. But the nice thing is that if you play it the same way, it generally won't matter how partner interprets it. And the example that I always like to give for that is, let's say partner, and let's say we're defending a suit contract, and partner has led the ace. Presumably from ace king, and dummy shows up with 3 small in the suit. And now you are going to follow at trick 1 to partner's lead of the ace. All right, well, you have exactly 8-2 doubleton. Do you want partner to continue? Yes, you do, because if the ace promises the king, that means you are getting a ruff in the 3rd round. And so you want partner to cash the king and then lead another card in that suit. We see 3 in dummy. It's entirely possible to declare the hand that we can't fully account for has something like queen 3rd. And we would love to go ace king ruff and ruff out declares queen, right? Okay, so partner leads the ace. If you are playing standard carding, what are you playing under the ace? You're playing the 8. Now this begins a high-low, which partner can read, which would suggest even count, i.e. a doubleton, right? What if partner's not thinking about count? What if partner is thinking, oh, it's an attitude signal? You just want me to continue the suit. That's fine, right? You do want partner to continue. And it doesn't really matter whether you're telling partner to continue because you have the queen or because you have a ruff coming, right? Either way, you want that suit continued. If you have queen third, you might do that, give an attitude signal and say, yeah, just keep going, right? So whether partner thinks you're giving an attitude signal or a count signal here, it doesn't matter. Now, that said, I do think against suit contracts, for sure, we are almost always giving attitude at trick one anyhow. But it happens to be accurate count. Flip it around so we're playing upside down. All right, partner leads the ace. What is your card under the ace at trick one? It's the deuce, right? Well, again, partner reads that as positive attitude. Yes, continue the suit. But even if it is interpreted as count, you are starting a low high, so you are also giving an accurate signal, right? So hopefully that illuminates what Marion brought up, which is if you're playing upside down attitude but standard count, now all of a sudden we have a conflict, right? now if you don't know 100% that partner is giving an attitude signal, or you think partner is giving an attitude signal and you're actually giving a count signal, which is why I say I think it's also going to help you if you default to look, if in doubt, just take it to be an attitude signal. But you see the problem that arises here. So I feel like you should do all of one or all of the other.
Could you please give an example where the 8-2 is a triple instead of a doubleton?
Okay, so this is where maybe it's going to be. Do we have an honor?
I
in
don't
the suit?
care. I don't care. It
You
just,
don't care. Okay.
I just don't
Fine.
care.
All right, let's go with 8-5 deuce.
Okay.
All right. Well, so the good news here is that you at least you can choose to signal however you want. So we're playing upside down. So what do you signal?
High hate.
5 ambiguous.
Yeah.
No,
So
high hate.
so the thing is, we can't really say conclusively because we don't know the whole hand, right? We don't know what else is in your hand. We don't know about the auction. Something we have talked about for those of you who have been in defense classes before, we talk about discouraging signals being stronger than encouraging signals. And so if you discourage, if you know you're giving attitude here and you discourage partner's continuation, you're suggesting there is some urgency to switching to another suit. On the other hand, you may, even though you have nothing in this suit, you may encourage because you don't want partner doing anything different. Because doing something different other than continuing the suit could be costly, right? So you got to make a decision and roll with it. But if we're playing upside down, you should signal the 8. From 3 cards to the 8, you can afford that, right? And so that's going to start what looks to partner like a high-low, and it's also going to appear to be negative attitude, which is true, right? That's all true about your holding. You neither have the queen of this suit, nor are you roughing. So your 8 is the most clear and accurate signal. But again, before we play that 8, we want to, we do want to address that question. Is this a